What's up, guys? Drill Master here. Sorry we're not going to see my face today. Just going to be reading things off of the Reddit mega thread about the OGL. Just updating everybody. I feel like the thread is really good, has everything organized. So I'm just going to go by the timeline. So December 21, 2022 is when an OGL update for 1D&D was announced. Basically, the OGL is an open gaming license that allows third-party companies to make products about D&D. Now, it's specifically about things that have to do with trademark D&D properties. So these are things that are within the SRD, or System Reference Document. And basically, in order to create a product, a third-party product for D&D using anything that comes in the SRD, you have to sign the license. The original OGL, the 1.0, I think it was published in 2000, and it allowed a lot of freedom, and basically anyone could make products for D&D, supplemental products. And Wizards was okay with that for the most part. But last year, the company that owns D&D, Wizards of the Coast, is owned by another company, Hasbro, and Hasbro was had a dip in its stocks, and the CEO of Wizards of the Coast, Cynthia Williams, I think it's famous now that she said D&D is under monetized. I don't know if this is why it happened, but it definitely makes sense, which is why they wanted to update the OGL. So December 12th, there's an OGL update for 1D&D, and it was announced that day, December 21st, sorry. Did I say December 12th? I meant December 21st, 2022. January 5th, 2023, the OGL 1.1 was leaked, which is the OGL they announced. On January 10th, the full OGL was leaked, and I'm just going to read the Reddit post about it from Cool Sonic Jaker. In order to avoid breaking any rules, Thursdays are text posts only. I won't include the link here, but Linda Codega just released an article on Gizmodo giving a very thorough breakdown of the potential new policies. You are free to Google it or link it in the comments. Also, important to note that the version Gizmodo received was dated early/mid-December, so things can certainly and probably will change. I was just reading some posts/threads last night, and honestly, it seems most of the worst predictions may be true, although again, depending on the backlash, things can change. Important highlights. OGL 1.0 is 900 words. The new OGL is supposedly over 9,000 words. As some indicated, the new OGL would unauthorize 1.0 completely due to the wording in 1.0 from the article. According to attorneys consulted for this article, the new language may indicate the Wizards of the Coast is rendering any future use of the original OGL void, and asserting that if anyone wants to continue using the open game content of any kind, they will need to abide by the terms of the updated OGL, which is a far more restrictive agreement than the original OGL. Wizards of the Coast declined to clarify if this is in fact the case. The text that was leaked had an effective date of January 14th, the 13th, with a plan to release the policy on January 4th, giving creators only 7 days to respond. A lot of interesting points about royalties, a possible tier system, is discussed, including pushing creators to use Kickstarter over the other crowdfunding platforms. From the article, online crowdfunding is a new phenomenon since the original OGL was created, and the new license attempts to address how and where these fundraising campaigns can take place. The OGL 1.1 states that if creators are members of the expert tier, over $750,000 in revenue, if your licensed work is crowdfunded or sold via any platform other than Kickstarter, you will pay a 25% royalty on qualifying revenue. If your licensed work is crowdfunded on Kickstarter, our preferred crowdfunding platform, you will only pay 20% royalty on qualifying revenue. These are just a few high-level details. I'm curious to see how Wizards will respond, especially since their blog post in December. So that was just the post about the full blog post being leaked. And then on January 10th is when Cobalt Press announced that they would have a black flag, raising the black flag, which is a new core fantasy game. And this is from the Cobalt Press website about the black flag. Quote, as Dungeons & Dragons moves towards the 50th anniversary of the game, foundational changes are afoot in the tabletop role-playing game arena. While we wait to see exactly what shape the open gaming license may take in this new era, Cobalt Press is also moving forward with some clear-eyed work on a new core fantasy tabletop rule set, available, open, and subscription-free for those who love it. Codename Project Black Flag. To receive future announcements and to register to playtest this rule set, please sign up using this form. It's a form. When the new open gaming license and an updated system reference document are made public, Cobalt Press will review the terms and consider whether they fit the needs of our audience and our business goals. The Cobalts are looking forward to the continued evolution of tabletop gaming, and we aim to play our part in making the game better. Rest assured, Cobalt Press intends to maintain a strong presence in the tabletop RPG community. So basically, they're making their own game that may or may not follow the OGL from the D&D 5e SRD. And then on January 12th, Wizards of the Coast employee breaks silence, says Wizards of the Coast, quote, see consumers as obstacles between them and their money, end quote, and slams the company on the OGL. On January 12th, the same day, Paizo, the company that owns Pathfinder, announces a system-neutral open RPG license. And this is going to be from their website specifically. So, for the past several weeks, as rumors of Wizards of the Coast's new version of the open gaming license began circulating among publishers and on social media, gamers across the world have been asking what Paizo plans to do in light of concerns regarding the Wizards of the Coast's rumored plan to deauthorize the existing OGL 1.0a. We have been waiting further information, hoping that Wizards would realize that for more than 20 years, the OGL has been mutually beneficial license which should not and cannot be revoked. While we continue to await an answer from Wizards, we strongly feel that Paizo can no longer delay making our own feelings about the importance of the open gaming a part of the public discussion. We believe that any interpretation that the OGL 1.0 or 1.0a were intended to be revocable or able to be deauthorized is incorrect, and with good reason. We were there. Paizo owner Lisa Stevens and Paizo president Jim Butler were leaders on the Dungeons & Dragons team at Wizards at the time. Brian Lewis, a co-founder of Azora Law, the intellectual property law firm that Paizo uses, was the attorney at Wizards who came up with the legal framework for the OGL itself. Paizo has also worked very closely on OGL-related issues with Ryan Dancy, the visionary who conceived the OGL in the first place. Paizo does not believe that the OGL 1.0a can be, quote, deauthorized, end quote, ever. While we are prepared to argue that point in a court of law if need be, we don't want to have to do that, and we know that many of our fellow publishers are not in a position to do so. We have no interest whatsoever in Wizards' new OGL. Instead, we have a plan that we believe will irrevocably and unquestionably keep alive the spirit of the open game license. As Paizo has evolved, the parts of the OGL that we ourselves value have changed. When we needed to quickly bring out Pathfinder First Edition to continue publishing our popular monthly adventures back in 2008, using Wizards language was important and expeditious. But in our non-RPG products, including our Pathfinder Tales novels, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and others, we shifted our focus away from D&D tropes to lean harder into ideas from our own writers. By the time we went to work on Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Wizards of the Coast's open game content was significantly less important to us, and so our designers and developers wrote the new edition without using the Wizards' copyrighted expressions of any game mechanics. While we still publish it under the OGL, the reason was no longer to allow Paizo to use Wizards' expressions, but to allow other companies to use our expressions. We believe, as we always have, that open gaming makes games better, improves profitability for all involved, and enriches the community of gamers who participate in this amazing hobby. And so we invite gamers from around the world to join us as we begin the next chapter of open gaming with the release of a new open, perpetual, and irrevocable Open RPG Creative License. The new Open RPG Creative License will be built system agnostic for an independent game publishers under the legal guidance of Azora Law, an intellectual property law firm that represents Paizo and several other game publishers. Paizo will pay for this legal work. We invite game publishers worldwide to join us in support of this system-agnostic license that allows all games to provide their own unique open rules reference documents that open up their individual game systems to the world. To join the effort and provide feedback on the drafts of this license, please sign up by using this form. And there's the form. In addition to Paizo, Cobalt Press, Chaosium, Green Ronin, Legendary Games, Rogue Genius Games, and a growing list of publishers have already agreed to participate in the Open RPG Creative License. In the coming days, we hope and expect to add substantially to this group. The ORC will not be owned by Paizo, nor will it be owned by any company who makes money publishing RPGs. Azora Law's ownership of the process and stewardship should provide a safe harbor against any company being bought, sold, or changing management in the future and attempting to rescind rights or nullify sections of the license. Ultimately, we plan to find a non-profit with a history of open source values to own this license, such as the Linux Foundation. Of course, Paizo plans to continue publishing Pathfinder and Starfinder even as we move away from the open game license. Since months' work of products are still in the printer, you'll see the familiar OGL 1.0A in the back of our products for a while yet. While the Open RPG Creative License is being finalized, we'll be printing Pathfinder and Starfinder products without any license, and we'll add the finished license to those products when the new license is complete. We hope that you will continue to support Paizo and other game publishers in this difficult time for the entire hobby. You can do your part by supporting the many companies that have provided content under the OGL. Support Pathfinder and Starfinder by visiting your local game store, subscribing to Pathfinder and Starfinder, or taking advantage of the discount code OpenGaming during your checkout for 25% off your purchase of the Core Rulebook Pocket Edition, or Pathfinder Beginner Box. Support Cobalt Press, Green Ronin, Legendary Games, Roll for Combat, Rogue Genius Games, and other publishers working to preserve a prosperous future for open gaming that is both perpetual and irrevocable. We'll be there at your side. You can count on us not to go back on our word forever. Paizo Inc. So that was the statement from Paizo about their system-neutral open RPG creative license. And then on January 19th, I'm getting ahead of myself. That was January 12th. In same day, January 12th, 2023, Wizards of the Coast cancels OGL announcement after online ire. January 13th, 2023, Wizards' desperate response to the D&D community backlash. They basically had a response to it, and it sounded really stupid. January 13th, 2023, D&D Beyond an update on the open gaming license. And then January 18th, Kyle Brink, executive producer on D&D, makes a statement on the upcoming OGL on D&D Beyond. Maybe this will open the link. January 13th from the D&D Beyond staff. While we initially conceived of revising the OGL, it was with three major goals in mind. First, we wanted the ability to prevent the use of D&D content from being included in hateful and discriminatory products. I don't think that was a big problem. I mean, I've had toxic players before, but We just kick them out of the game. I don't think that's ever happened for actual third-party publishers or third-party creators. Anyways, second, we wanted to address those attempting to use D&D in Web3 blockchain games and NFTs by making clear that OGL content is limited to tabletop role-playing content like campaigns, modules, and supplements. And third, we wanted to ensure that OGL is for the content creator, the homebrewer, the artist, designer, our players in the community, not major corporations to use their own commercial and promotional purpose. So that's bullshit. Because the only NFTs around are by Wizards of the Coast, so no one else is making NFTs. I think they're just putting out. I mean, people have said this already when they said that Wizards is just making shit up that has never been problems. Like, they're saying it, and that could have been problems, but it was never really problems. They're just saying it like it would have been problems. Okay, and then they go on to say, driving these goals were two simple principles. One, our job is to be good stewards of the game, and they're definitely not. And two, the OGL exists for the benefit of the fans. Nothing about these principles has wavered for a second. I don't think any of this benefits the fans at all, and I don't know how anyone could think that any of this benefits the fans at all. It's bullshit. They say that was why our early drafts of the new OGL included the provisions they did. I didn't mention this, but those were not drafts. People got contracts along with this, so you can't send contracts if it's a draft. If you're having people sign contracts, it's not a draft. It was a finished product, and it had a release date. So people have also said this. They're just trying to hide behind the fact that word draft, like we're gonna believe any of that shit. Like, we don't talk to each other. The draft language, not a draft, was provided to content creators and publishers so their feedback could be considered before anything was finalized. We'll go over this a little bit later, but you find out that they actually don't give a fuck about your feedback. In addition to language allowing us to address discriminatory and hateful conduct and clarifying what types of products the OGL covers, our drafts included royalty language designed to apply to large corporations attempting to use OGL content. It was never our intent to impact the vast majority of the community. I mean, they're wrong. However, it's clear from the reaction that we rolled a 1. It has become clear that it is no longer possible to fully achieve all 3 goals while staying true to our principles. You can achieve all 3 goals. You can absolutely achieve all 3 goals. But the thing is, they weren't trying to achieve any of those goals. This is made up bullshit that they're trying to hide behind. Because none of that would have been a problem with the original OGL anyway. So they're making problems and then they're solving it. And then now they're saying, oh, we tried to solve it, but our solution didn't work. But I mean, it's obvious that they weren't trying to solve that problem in the first place, because how could that solve the problem? None of that makes sense. So here's what we're doing. The next OGL will contain provisions that allow us to protect and cultivate the inclusive environment we are trying to build, and specify that it covers only content for TTRPGs. That means that other expressions such as educational, charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplay, VTTs, etc. will remain unaffected by any OGL content update. Content already released under 1.0a will also remain unaffected. I think the reason they said that last part about things released under 1.0a will also remain affected is because what I said earlier about Paizo. I think it was supposed to be irrevocable. They didn't have that term, so that's why they didn't use it. I think that's the loophole that they're trying to use, is that they didn't have that term, so that now we're in the future, that term exists. They didn't have it in the past, so now they're trying to revoke it. But as we said before, the people who were there making the OGL basically said, yeah, we meant it for it to be irrevocable. And they're willing to fight it in court. So that's just them trying to cover their asses about something that they're not going to win anyway. Also, no one was attacking charitable campaigns or live streams or cosplay. Who was attacking that? there was no one attacking these things. So this is another example of them making a problem that they can solve, so they can hide behind it, and like hopefully like, oh yeah, we're on your side, we're helping charitable campaigns and live streams and cosplays, when no one was attacking charitable campaigns and live streams and cosplays. Like, what the fuck? And then they say, well, what it will not contain is any royalty structure. It also will not include the license back provision that some people were afraid was a means for us to steal work. I don't know about that. That thought never crossed our minds. Right. Under any new OGL, you will own the content you create. We won't. No shit. Any language we put down will be crystal clear and unequivocal on that point. It's like they're trying to get to your side and then put the shield up. Like, oh yeah, no, we were protecting you the whole time, even though they were the ones who were definitely attacking. The license-backed language was intended to protect us and our partners from creators who incorrectly allege that we steal their work simply because of coincidental similarities. As we continue to invest in the game that we love and move forward with partnerships in film, television, digital games, that risk is simply too great to ignore. The new OGL contain provisions that to address that risk, but we will do it without a license back and without suggesting we have rights to the content you create. Your ideas and imagination are what makes the game special, and that belongs to you. So the people who are in the creative team, from what I understand, really do play the game. They play the game and they love the game. But the people who are in charge of this initiative, which is Chris Cal, who is the Wizards digital game vice president, from what I understand, he doesn't play D&D, and his background is video games and digital media. So I'm not sure he really gives a fuck about any of this, or any of you, or any of us. He just cares about making money with this property, which I get it. It's his job to make money. But I mean, if you're supposed to be a steward of this property, shouldn't you also give a fuck about the community? Like, you know, give a damn about the people who are playing this game. Shouldn't you also just give a damn about the game, your product, you know, the product that you're peddling? A couple of last thoughts. First, we won't be able to release the new OGL today because we need to make sure we get it right, but it is coming. So they're still trying to revoke an irrevocable OGL. Second, you're going to hear people say they won and we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won and so did we. So this is a problem in how they view the community, and it shows how flawed they are. And it shows how flawed the way they see the community. Like I said before, they said, the employees said that they view the people, the gamers, as obstacles that get between them and their money. And this illustrates it right there, because no one said they, and there's no they versus us. You know, if your company peddling a product and people are very passionate about your product, it's together. You're the company that helps the community. But the fact that you framed it in a way where it's the community versus the people who make the product, and you don't understand that a win for the product is a win for you, then that shows how flawed the thinking is, how flawed the philosophy is. And it really shows how disconnected the executives like Chris Cal are from the actual community. And it's really I'm going over, I know all this already, but I'm going over it. It still sucks. It still sucks to remember. And then they say, our plan was always to solicit the input of our community. They didn't. The drafts you've seen were attempted to do just that. They weren't drafts. We want to always delight fans and create experiences together that everyone loves. We realized we did not do that this time, and we are sorry for that. Our goal was to get exactly the type of feedback on which provisions worked and which did not. They did not. They didn't give a shit about what anyone thought. They only got problems because a lot of people unsubscribe from their D&D Beyond, and that hurt their bottom line, and I was one of those people who unsubscribed. And that's really all they really care about. But it sucks that that's the way it's gotta be. We realized we do not have, our goal was to get exactly type of feedback from the which we ultimately got from you. Yeah, by unsubscribing. Any change this major could have only been done well if we were willing to take that feedback, no matter how it was provided. So we are. I highly doubt they're changing anything. I doubt that. Thank you for caring enough to let us know what works and what doesn't, what you need and what scares you. No one said that they were scared. If anything, Wizards was scared because they're losing money. I mean, this OGL thing. I mean, I was writing an adventure for it, but this whole thing has just put me off, and I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't trust Wizards at all, and maybe that's what they mean by what scares you is that we're scared that they're gonna sue us. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's logical. But they're the ones who are scared because they're losing money, and they're a company that really cares about just the money, not the game. They don't care about the product, obviously. I'm not saying everybody at Wizards. I'm just saying the higher ups. From what I understand, the creative team does care about the game, and they play the game every week. So I'm not talking about them. I'm not saying that everyone at Wizards is a piece of shit. I'm just saying there are certain people who are actual piece of shits at Wizards. Without knowing that, we can't do our part to make the new OGL matchup principles. Finally, we'd appreciate the chance to make this right. We love D&D's devoted players and creators who take them on so many incredible adventures. We won't let you down. You already have, and also at this point, a lot of people have jumped ship, including me. I'm learning Pathfinder. I don't like learning Pathfinder, to be honest with you. But anything is better than supporting these assholes at Wizards of the Coast. I'm not saying everyone at Wizards of the Coast is an asshole. I'm talking about the people who are in charge of this are assholes. The next is going to be a statement from Kyle Brink, who is the executive producer on D&D. Hi, I'm Kyle Brink, the executive producer on D&D. It is my team that makes the game we all play. D&D has been a huge part of my life long before I worked at Wizards and will be for a long time after I'm done. My mission and that of the entire D&D team is to help bring everyone the creative joy and lifelong friendships that D&D has given us. These past days and weeks have been incredibly tough for everyone. As players, fans, and stewards of the game, we can't and we won't let things continue like this. I'm here today to talk about a path forward. First, though, let me start with an apology. We are sorry. We got it wrong. Our language and requirements that in the draft OGL, it wasn't a draft, were disruptive to creators and not in support of our core goals of protecting and cultivating an inclusive play environment and limiting the OGL to TTRPGs. Then we compounded things by being silent for too long. We hurt fans and creators when more frequent and clear communications could have prevented so much of this. Starting now, we're going to do this a better way, more open and transparent with our entire community of creators, with the time to iterate, to get feedback, to improve. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's how we do it for the game itself. So let's do it that way for the OGL too. From what I understand, they don't ever check anyone's feedback. I'm trying to find the other quote. Someone wrote a quote down. An employee basically said that they won't let a bunch of armchair gamers dictate the game. Like, they're the ones creating the game and they don't care what anybody else really thinks. We'll listen to you and we will share that with you, what we've heard, much like we do in our Unearthed Arcana and our one D&D playtest. This will be a robust conversation before we release any future version of the OGL. Here's what to expect. This is them. Here's what to expect. 1. On or before Friday, January 20th, we will share new proposed OGL documentation for your review and feedback as we do with playtest materials. 2. After you review the proposed OGL, you will be able to fill out a quick survey. much like Unearthed Arcana playtest feedback surveys. It will ask you specific questions about the document and include open form fields to share any other feedback you have. 3. The survey will remain open for at least 2 weeks and will give you advance notice before it closes so that everyone who wants to participate can complete the survey. Then we will compile, analyze, and react to and present back what we heard from you. I highly doubt that this survey that they're doing is going to be read by anybody because from what I understand, the reason they wanted to give people surveys is so that people were not going to other platforms to cause problems for the company. They didn't want you to go to Twitter or Instagram or Reddit or wherever else to cause problems for the company outside of their surveys. If you write in their surveys and you submit your shit to them, they're the only ones that see it or don't see it. You don't really know what happens because there's no real feedback, you know? You just say things, you say whatever you need to say, and then it just goes into nowhere because they don't read shit because they don't have to. Like they said before, armchair gamers are not the ones designing their game. They are. And then they say, finally, you deserve some stability and clarity. We are committed to giving creators both input into and room to prepare for any update to the OGL. Also, there's a ton of stuff that isn't going to be affected by the OGL update. So today, right now, we'll lay out all these areas that this conversation won't touch. Any changes to the OGL will have no impact on at least these creative efforts, your video content, your accessories for your own content, non-published works, for instance, contracted services, VTT content, DM's guild content, your OGL 1.0A content, your revenue, your ownership of your content. That's all from me now. You will hear again from us on or before Friday as described above, and we look forward to the conversation. Kyle Brink, executive producer of D&D. Then January 19th, and starting the OGL playtest. On January 19th, Paizo announces more than 1,500 TTRPG publishers of all sizes have pledged to use the ORC license, and January 20th, OGL 1.2 survey is launched. So right now, it is January, what is it? January 22nd. So it is open as of right now. I didn't look at it because I don't really care anymore. The Dungeon Dudes did say something that struck a chord with me. They said that Wizards of the Coast, they own the IP. They own the company, Dungeons and Dragons, but they can't own the actual mechanics of the game. That belongs to you and me. That belongs to the people that play D&D. So now I have a dilemma because I love playing D&D. D&D is a great game, but I don't want to support the people who own D&D. And by playing the game, I am supporting them in a way because I'm supporting their product. And if I get people into D&D and I get people to fall in love with D&D, which I really want to do, obviously, because I love it, that might make them also want to support those D&D products that is owned by this really shitty evil company. I think the only way I can do this, play D&D, is by making sure that I don't use any Wizards of the Coast branded items or materials. And I guess in my games, I will also not let anybody else. Well, I can't stop people from doing whatever they want. It's their life, it's their money. Do whatever you want with your money. But at the same time, I'm the DM. So if you want to use D&D Beyond, you're not gonna play at my table. You can play with someone else, other DM that's okay with you using Wizards of the Coast products because they have a lot of products. And I'm not gonna lie, the D&D Beyond makes D&D much easier, specifically with the math. There's a lot of math that goes into it. Not as much math as Pathfinder, but still enough math that it'll slow the game down a little bit. But I think that also shows how dependent I have become on these on D&D Beyond and allowing them to take control of all of basically character creation and doing all the calculations for me. I think this, instead of just trying to learn Pathfinder, I might just go back to the roots of D&D and just start playing pen and paper and do everything without D&D Beyond or Wizards of the Coast. But that's where we are right now, January 22nd. I'm sure there's other videos out there that you could watch that'll be much more informative than this one. This has just been I really wanted it to be a short rundown, but it's 36 minutes. So, I mean, that's all for now. I hope you got something out of it.